So, some Raptor talk for you here today as the Toronto Raptors select Collin Murray-Boyles with the 9th overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft. This is a life-changing moment for this person, something that only a few human beings in the history of the world will ever understand, knowing what it feels like to get your name called on draft day at all, let alone in the top 10 of the NBA draft. And Collin Murray-Boyles reacts to this life-changing news, a dream coming true, by looking like someone punched his dog right in front of them and then noticeably on camera going, fuck, as he is buttoning up his shirt and the rest of the family looks like they've been transported to a funeral. That sucked to see. That really did. From a Raptor fan standpoint, that really, really stung. And look, I understand they are the Canadian team in the NBA, and your mileage may vary on what you think of Toronto. A lot of players who have played there say that they love it. Quite a few players that have played there say that they hate it. I think it is a little frustrating that for 2 weeks we were talking about this renaissance of small markets in the NBA with, Oklahoma City and Indiana. No, you know what? Like, we talk about small markets. These are actually awesome places to play. And you have all of that. But then when it comes to Toronto and Canada, it's like, oh, yeah, no, but that still sucks up there. I mean, Kawhi wanted to leave. Bosch wanted to leave. Why would anyone want to stay up in Toronto? So, yes, no, by all means, Collin Murray-Boyles, boohoo, and be justified in that. Like, it sucks to have this reputation of Toronto keep coming up. And I understand, like, it's in Canada, it's a weird conversation to have because you have a fan base that is across the country, right? Like, that this is a large country that we have. And so when people act like this around the Raptors and the Blue Jays, all of a sudden we get defensive about it. It's like, hey, what's so bad about this? Toronto, da 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 da. But then the second it's outside of this context, you talk about Toronto and Calgary. It's like, oh yeah, it's terrible. Those people are, it's the worst place ever. They're so full of themselves and all of that. But and I know I am talking, I have a Calgary Cannons hat on, and I know I am talking from Calgary, but I do want to tell you that Toronto is genuinely one of the best cities in the world. It is a major market in Canada, and from a population and media standpoint, like one of the bigger places in the world, and a cultural melting pot and all of those things. And I hate that no one recognizes it because it's on the other side of a line, and it just gets absolutely shit on all the time, especially in NBA circles. And for this to still be a thing, after you would see the passion of the fan base when it was the Raptors against the Cavs, and Doris Burke and LeBron have to stop an interview because the "Let's Go Raptors" chants are too loud after they just got beat in the conference finals, and to see all of the passion around the parade in 2019 after the Raptors won, and all of the passion of that fan base, and so many different players saying, look, it is actually pretty awesome up there. Like, I get you have to take your passport out every time you fly back into the country, but aside from that, it's a pretty dope place to live. You still, for whatever reason, every other place seems to get the, oh no, it's actually not that bad, except for the Canada thing. And for that kid in the biggest moment of his life to just not only look at, or to not look at how big of a moment this is getting into the NBA, but instead to focus on, quite frankly, how little he knows about Toronto is just so disappointing. I will say, it seems like he's saying all the right things after. You know, like Steve Francis, when he started crying when the Grizzlies drafted him, he didn't try to do any damage control. And this kid, at least someone was smart enough to get in his ear and be like, hey, could you not make this seem like the worst thing that's ever happened in your life when people are interviewing you? And can we try to bail out of it? Now, let's get better about lying, shall we? Oh no, I was actually saying, what the fuck? Like, my dream has come true. Like, dude, there's cameras here, man. We know. But again, it was smiles after. It was talking about how excited he was about the organization and the bibbidi babbidi blue and all of those things. So at least he had the decency to lie about it. after the fact. He wasn't good at lying about it, but at least he had the decency of lying about it after the fact, so it didn't seem like it was just the biggest slap in the face to this fan base that was probably ready to embrace you before this particular moment. So at least he is trying to do some kind of damage control here. I don't think it means you have to trade him immediately. I think that Toronto is a city that I think it is worth it. I know it didn't work with Kawhi, but it did work with DeRozan. It did work with Kyle Lowry, where just bring them into Toronto and see if it's as bad as you think, and maybe you'll grow to love it. And if he doesn't, then you can move him. But I don't think that you have to move him or cut him or anything like that, tar and feather him in public or anything, just because of a bad reaction. It pissed me off. It, like, actually, a little bit of it broke my heart a little bit. To have someone be so upset at the biggest moment of their life about coming to my team, that was the reaction they had. But I also willing to move on if he's willing to accept that being someone who has to live in gasp Canada is maybe not the worst thing that has ever happened to him. So that's the real life aspect of all of this. The basketball fit, this team is a type, don't they? This is a guy who can guard a few positions, but doesn't shoot particularly well, but is strong and tough defensively, and at 6'7", can even play some minutes at the 5 if you do a small ball lineup. That's basically every player this team tries to bring in. And they pivoted away from it for a second toward the tail end of the Nick Nurse era, when it seemed like, okay, this really isn't working. And now they just go back to the same thing. So I think that he is going to fit in what this team views their identity to be, but I don't think that this is going to help in many ways from a basketball standpoint. I think it will add another talented human being onto a roster that actually has quite a few of them, and more than people are willing to give this team credit for. But I don't think this raises the floor at all. I don't particularly think it raises the ceiling all that much either. So I think he'll be fine. He will probably play in a bench role, and with a lot of young bench kids out there, I think that his flexibility on defense is actually going to help that unit out there. So I do think that there are some positives to it, but it just didn't feel like the move that could have been there. I said before, I wanted Maluach. When the Raptors didn't draft him, because I wasn't able to watch the draft live. When the Raptors didn't draft him, I assumed that he had gone somewhere before that point. And so to see that he went to the pick after them was actually quite surprising to me, because he is something this team doesn't have. And instead of Murray-Boyles, who just kind of just fits in with everything else that you already are utilizing. So I wanted Maluach. I thought that there was something there. And even if you wanted the versatile, can defend a few different things, Essengue was the better version of that. A little bit taller and maybe not quite as refined on the offensive side, but still had that length and that tenacity and experience at the European level that I think could have been a bit more beneficial to the Raptors. So I'm out of one side, I'm being like, hey kid, why didn't you want to come here? And then on the other side, I'm like, but here are 5 reasons why I don't think you should have been here anyway. So a little yin and yang, but I just felt like there were options that were out there that could either be something they didn't have or be a better version of what they were trying to do with this. So it's not a pick that I love, and maybe I am looking for some negatives because the kid went, fuck, after being drafted by my favorite team, and it made me feel some kind of way. So that's what happened in the NBA draft.